All right, welcome to another morning trade breakdown, stock breakdown. I'm not sure what we're going to call it yet, but welcome. Now, what we're doing is I'm going to look at the SPY real quick. We want to check it out. We've talked about it. We talked about some pretty critical levels, which would be this level right here. We need to stay beneath it if we want to see lower prices. I'd love to see lower prices personally. Not saying I'm completely bearish. The sky is falling, but I would like to see it stay underneath there, come down a little bit further, give us cheaper prices. I like a good deal. Now, what we're doing is just kind of going back and forth. We want to talk about particularly how long it took to get past this point to give us an idea of how long it's possibly going to go sideways. And now, if it's going to go sideways and there's other stocks that are extended, which we're going to get into, we may see some sideways action before they decide to make a move higher. They might be leading the SPY instead of following the SPY. Okay, and so we just want to have that understanding. Or is SPY acting as the crystal ball and getting ready to pull those other stocks back? So something we want to be completely aware of. But hey, as long as we know our levels, understand what's happening in the SPY, we can now correlate with our other time frames. If those or other stocks, if those stocks start coming down, then we know that there are cheaper prices on those particular stocks. So let's count. We have arguably 1 day, 2, 3, and 4 before SPY makes the move to the upside. Now, if we're doing the exact same thing, we have 1, 2. Let's give it another day and see what happens. Now, it is kind of gapping down. We talked about this in the mentorship class last night, but let's put in one more level that we need to be paying attention to on the SPY, and that's just a low. Okay, so this is going to be anytime we have a low being put in like that, we need to be paying attention to it. These critical lines, the red line, these other gold lines, they're all worth paying attention to, especially on our lower time frames. The 30-minute chart, these are going to banter back and forth in between these lines. If you get reversals, recaptures, they're going to head on to the next support or resistance as they continue to fall. So we want to get an idea of what that is going to look like. That's why we put the lines in the chart. So that's the area. We get above this, we are bullish. We hold the fort down and continue to. So if it pops up and we start getting a pattern here, well, we may be building energy to make a move higher. If we get the recapture, we will generally roll back down into this area. But we are expecting maybe some sideways motion, sideways action coming in, so we just want to be aware of that. Let's move on to AMC, because AMC is been the place to be. Every day it just continues to grind higher. Every day it seems like we're able to go long on this thing, but this is what we want to pay attention to. If we're looking at the 4-hour chart, we've covered the daily already, so we have some other stocks that I would like to get into, but this does look like a little bit of a topping formation. Okay, so what we want to do is, if it can crack, we talked about this little gray line yesterday. This gray line is the line in the sand for AMC. I said if it holds it like it did, it should go sideways and we could possibly get some higher prices. I would really like to see AMC give us a pullback down to this area, then a bounce, and then a go. Maybe another day or two, but that we'll assess it as it gets there. Now, pay attention. Look how far extended we are from the EMAs. Pretty crazy. Doesn't mean it can't continue to go, but for the most part, I would like to see AMC pull back. Now, let's get into Tesla real quick. Okay, Tesla is doing something pretty big, as Elon always does. And how we're going to do that is just pivot high to pivot low on Tesla at this point and figure out where our 50% is on this overall directional pattern, and then we will take it from there, find our important levels in our candlesticks. But we got to know how to break down a chart. By knowing how to break down a chart, we can now obviously get a better understanding of where the stock is going to head. And so right now, all we're doing is finding the 50% pivot high to pivot low, and then we also want to find the 50% on this other candle right here. This one is the one that's kind of in control. These are all inside bars to a certain extent to this other, this big breakdown candle. So if we understand where the breakdown candle is, we are now bullish above this area, which we could get a nice move in the upward direction. Now, something we want to pay attention to is, well, it's been on a nice uptrend. Okay. Now, Elon is possibly solving the chip shortage problem. We discussed that a little bit last night. And this is the thing about that. You get paid on proportions to the problems you solve. Well, it's a big problem right now, which leads us to another stock that I want to pay attention to that we haven't, and we've neglected it for a little bit, but it's starting to make higher highs. The point is, on Tesla, if we get above this, we should see the tops. Okay, that's kind of the line in the sand. We should go back and forth. We want to pay attention to the EMAs. If we get rejected here, if we look at those EMAs, they are potentially starting to come down. But every single time we get close to this area, we do get a nice little move in the upward direction. So, but remember what the SPY is doing. SPY is pulling back. That's going to put some weight on it, okay? Tesla, Apple, Amazon, huge players when it comes to the SPY. They usually give us a great indication of where possibly the SPY might go. Not saying to use those as the main indicator, but gives us an idea. Now, if this gets underneath, uses that old support as a resistance, the EMA start curving, we could possibly see some lower prices on Tesla. But it is under some good news. Let's see them solve the chip shortage problem, which would drive more revenue for the company, and we could see higher prices, which brings me to the next stock, GM. Oh, GM's been on a downtrend. I'll tell you what. I bought the dip on this thing a few times, and every time I found myself selling, and it would just turn around and come back on the other direction. Now, if we look at a daily chart, daily charts are super important. You guys should always be looking at the daily chart. If you're finding this information useful, by the way, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell if you haven't. That way you're updated when we're updating you on our positions and what stocks we're getting into. And that way you can be reminded to check this out every morning on the stocks that we choose to see maybe some potential in, okay? Right now we're breaking above a nice area. This is the top. That's the short squeeze. That's the double top, higher lows. It looks like it's starting to change direction. Now, imagine if Elon fixes the chip shortage. Where is GM going to go? They've literally cut guidance and production on their outcome of their vehicles all due to this chip. If they get back in business, including Toyota and some of these other companies, we should see some higher prices. Is GM worth $62 a share up here? I think when it was up there, we were thinking it was going to 72. Okay, now we're down in this area. It does look like a good support. We're breaking above some of these. We have at least room to these moving averages, these this gap window, and where we found some other buyers. So I'm potentially got some upside that I'm wanting to check out in GM. So let's pay attention to GM and Tesla, AMC, PTO, and we'll hurry and just go over real quick. It held the lines that we were wanting it to hold yesterday. We talked about this area, which is the 50% area off the prior day, top to bottom, 50% super critical of the entire range of that day. This held beautifully. We talked about it getting underneath 111 being the dip buy for PTON. It's exactly what happened. Now, all we're wanting to do, once again, remember what the SPY's doing. It's going to consolidate sideways. If we look at PTON, it's right into some levels with some heavy sellers, okay? If they did not get out on this retest and they did not get out on this retest, you're going to find more sellers and short sellers all piling in roughly around 118. So we need to have that have that as a reminder. This is also a topping formation. Get to know this pattern. This pattern is definitely a bearish pattern. Now, we are extended still off the EMAs. If we get sold into, it's still a good dip buy at the low a day. Chances of it falling through there is not very good. We have the blue EMA creeping up, should catch it. If we hold this level and start to make higher highs, well, that's fine. We'll just wait until the simple ABCD, ABC patterns put in, and then we will be a seller. So If SPY is going back and forth, maybe PTON will go back and forth before making its move. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you later.